Alex, just your thoughts on Denver being the opponent after the layoff that you've had and the preparation that you guys have put into going up against them tomorrow.
Yeah, it's nice to have a game scheduled. We've been kind of in a stalling pattern, just going through practices and workouts and watching games from afar. So we're excited to get back on the court and play because that's obviously why we're here and why we're still alive in the postseason. So looking forward to playing Denver. Obviously, they're a really good team. They have championship caliber players, Hall of Fame players. Their experience. They've been there. I think that showed in Game 7 the other night. They didn't really blink. They kind of rose to the occasion. So we're going to need our best, obviously, to beat them. And we're looking forward to the challenge.
Guy like Jokic, the way that he plays, they play through him. I'm sure he's seen every type of coverage. The Clippers, they would change coverages once a quarter, it seemed like, on him. What's your feeling on players of that caliber and how you mix things up if you try to find something that works and kind of live it out and stick through it? What's your feel there?
Yeah, I mean, Jokic is in that tier of players, along with probably Shea and a handful of other guys in the league where they're just going to kind of get their numbers. I've talked about this in the past, where if you do a great job on guys, of that caliber, they'll probably get their averages, and if you don't, they could go for headline stuff. So I think it's the biggest thing is just making it tough on him. That's kind of his thing, and I think he's a great player when you make it tough on him, and when you don't, he's maybe maybe the toughest coverage guy in the league, just with his ability to pass. He rebounds. He's gotten better defensively as far as just getting steals and deflections. So we got work cut out for us, but we're up for the challenge, and I think we're excited to go out there and meet him head on.
Actually, with him specifically, I know you've only known that you're playing him for today, but like, how do you try to mimic what he does in this building in practice or whatever else throughout the week?
Yeah, I mean, you can't mimic it. You can just go through, sets they like to run, spots that he likes to get to on the court. Obviously, all that scouting goes into postseason play, and it's a little more in depth than it is in the regular season. But we had 9 days off from games, so for us, I think it's more about just going out there and trying to play our style, and then obviously, limit him. But like I just said, he's a great player. He's going to get some numbers and impact the game. It's just about making it tough and I think playing the way we want to play.
And with a guy like Jamal, obviously he's capable of like a 40-point game like he had in the series. Also capable of maybe like 14-point game, whatever it is. And then Russ, similarly, obviously a different role, but there's volatility in what he does. He's always going to have energy, but the output might not always be the same. How do you sort of brace for that level of volatility and this sort of up and down output?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's consistent with those two is, the competitive spirit and the attention to, the moment. I think Russ, obviously, y'all know him from being here. He's one of the great competitors that this game has ever seen, night in, night out. He has just a knack for making plays, and I think he's been a real, a positive and a bright spot for them this season in times when maybe it didn't look great, just with his energy and effort. So obviously just being ready for him to match his competitiveness and his physicality. And then Jamal's, could maybe have a couple All-Stars under his belt. Hasn't got selected, but he's played like that in the postseason. I think everyone's aware of how good a player he is. They say playoff risers, but I think, he doesn't really rise in the playoffs. He just plays to his normal level. And I think he shows that, like you said, scoring 40 when he needs to, and in some games reading the game and getting others involved. So, I mean, we've said a lot of good things about these guys. They're a really good team, right? They've won a championship. All these guys are in the second round for a reason now, and we got our work cut out for us. But like I said, excited to get back to play basketball.
You look at dealing with him as it's, some say let him score. Well, not let him score, but he hurts you more with the assists than the points. What do you fall on that? Because like a Michael Porter, he's a really good shot maker, not necessarily a shot creator. How do you fall on that with Jokic? How you deal with him?
I mean, like I said, you can throw just about every coverage you want at him. He's seen cross matching. He's seen double teams. He's seen single coverage. I think he's proven that he can go and get 30, 35 if you just let him try and go score. So obviously playing him one-on-one the whole game is never the option. Just like, playing Shea one-on-one the whole game isn't the option, or, any of the best guys in the league. But he does have a special ability to get others involved. And, it's just about doing multiple things. Like, it's the playoffs. You can't do one thing and think you're going to win the game. You can't just double team him or just leave him alone. Like, you're going to have to help on him and close out and play defense on Michael Porter Jr. or get in rotation on Russ or play Braun Murray. Like, they're a good team, and playoffs is about handling multiple actions. So making it difficult on Joker, and then obviously, winning closeouts and getting out on the perimeter and the other guys.
Alex, when you look at the paths here in OKC that guys like Lou and Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, who came in as kind of a flyer, now AJ Mitchell getting bumped off of a two-way, you kind of, that story didn't end up happening for you, but just from coming back, what have you observed about maybe the power of that inside the organization, that maybe guys can look to others as examples of being able to play your way up?
Yeah, I mean, the opportunity's there. I think that's the biggest thing in the NBA everybody wants is a chance. And I think that's something that's unique about this organization is, they're not afraid to kind of throw you out there and give you the opportunity to show that you belong. Like you saw last year, Joe, Wiggs, earned themselves nice contracts, showed them that they belonged in the league. And then, AJ's obviously in his first year, and he had a bad injury. But before that, and since then, I mean, he doesn't look like he's missed a beat. He just understands the game, plays well physically, does a bunch of different things, can shoot, can score. Like, he's a really good basketball player, all-around player. And I think that, like I said, the organization recognizes when you can play basketball well. Not necessarily have to be, the guy with the deepest bag or, a one-trick pony that's elite, but guys that can do a bunch of different things. They'll put you in the fire, and a lot of times guys answer.
With the rise of Christian Braun this season, offensively and defensively, how strong is Denver's starting five?
Yeah, they're really good. I mean, they're only playing like 7 guys a game in that Clippers series when they got down to crunch time, and I don't know if that's necessarily a knock on the other guys or just a compliment to how good those top 5, 6, 7 guys are. So obviously that's a big step for them. That's probably part of the reason they let KCP go in off season is, expecting him to flourish and to kind of step into that, main defender outside shooting role. And credit to him, you can tell that he's worked on his game. Like, that's the thing that I look for season to season on, especially young guys, just seeing if they changed their game, added anything. And he just seems a lot more confident. I think each time he gets on the court, he seems like he believes that he belongs more and more. So good player for them. Obviously, he's another guy that, you could throw in that X factor category for them. When he plays well, they usually play well.
So you mentioned
Like his mentality. Dub after Game 4 credited like his mentality and sort of approach and aggressiveness helping him in that series. I know that you talked about Chet getting in his own head a little bit. Is there anything you noticed differently from Dub in that series?
Yeah, I don't know if Chet necessarily got in his head a little bit, but just working through frustration, I think, is probably the best way to put that. And, I think Dub obviously has been dealing with, the nagging thing on his wrist, which maybe doesn't feel great, but like you'd never tell the way he's out there. And, I think that mentality of just going out and playing and doing whatever it takes to win, when your best players are your most competitive guys, like everybody else has to fall in line, and it raises the level of the team. So him being able to just, kind of carry us mentality wise of fighting back in the second half, Game 3, putting a good performance in against them Game 4, I think is a step in the right direction for us, how good of a team we want to be. Obviously a different challenge coming up now, guys that have been there, been to the pinnacle, won the last game of the season. It's going to take a different, not a different, but another level, another step for us to take mentality-wise, mindset-wise to get them, 4 games out.
You had mentioned this break kind of being in a little bit of a holding pattern. You had a similar layoff right after the regular season. What was key in kind of winning this stretch here to make sure you're ready going into this next season? What was key in that first one?
Yeah, just having focus, I think, when we're out on the court. I think we got some really good days in where we had high intensity, got up and down. Obviously there's a fine line of, you don't want to do too much, but you don't want to do too little, right? There's a happy medium of staying in shape and staying competitive. And I think our coaching staff has done a good job of putting together a plan. Obviously, the first break we had, and then it was a little easier this time when we've had a trial run with it. So I think it's been good for us, obviously, to have some rest, but we're ready to play again.
AC, you mentioned the concept of playoff riser earlier. It seems like that's something you give us some thought. Just I wonder if you would expand on the holes concept of playoff riser versus dropper, your whole thought process?
Yeah, I think you just find out who the real competitive guys in the league are. Guys that don't live and die with one possession, guys that can recognize the moment, guys that understand the importance of winning plays and finding solutions, and then just competing through it. Like that's the biggest thing. Like there's guys that during the regular season have enough talent to kind of get by and play their game and win games, and then there's guys in the postseason who are the difference between going home and staying alive.
Mark, just your thoughts on Denver and obviously the incredibly potent threat that they are.
Yeah, great team. Great players, great competitors, team we have a lot of respect for. We're obviously very familiar with them from the last few years. They've had a lot of continuity. We've had a lot of continuity. So great familiarity. It'd be a great series, and looking forward to competing.
With that familiarity, just what stands out about the matchups that you guys have had with them so far this season?
Always really competitive. Always a real challenge for us. Obviously Jokic. His play speaks for itself. He's an incredibly tough cover because of the way that he can activate his teammates and also score very efficiently himself. But really, really good players, top to bottom. Murray, Porter, really good shot makers, and then they have some big time competitors in Gordon and Westbrook and Watson. So again, Brown. It's a challenging game.
Looking at the season series, the first couple times you played them, Hartenstein hadn't played a game for you guys yet, and obviously I think the last two times you guys played was relatively early in the whole Chet Hartenstein pairing. Like, how did that sort of change your approach to the series?
It's like I said before the Memphis one. I think regular season games have to be taken in the context of the regular season. Availability has a lot to do with it. There was a game Gordon didn't play for them. And then there's contextual factors like schedule. The Chet thing you mentioned, he was just coming back. So you can learn from all those games. They're all data points, but it's not a direct through line to a playoff series. A playoff series is very different.
You notice any subtle changes with their head coaching change they made? The way they play?
No, I think the bones of their team is about the same. I mean, there's going to be some, like I said, going into the Memphis series, there's going to be some allocation differences. Like, they're doing certain things a little bit more, they're doing certain things a little bit less, but the overall integrity of what they do is the same. It's very difficult for somebody to come in that late in the year and make like wholesale changes. So there's subtle changes we've noticed, but nothing crazy.
That being said, how helpful is it, though, that you got to see a full 7-game series out of them in all kinds of stressful situations? That got to be helpful, right?
Yeah, I mean, good data point, and it gives you a great understanding of how they play against the Clippers, but it doesn't give you a great understanding of how they play against us. So, something we can learn from, but this series will have its own face and will unfold in its own way. And like every other series, we got to be prepared, understand the things that are not going to change, and then be ready to adapt to the things that are.
What about Jokic? Jokic is the best player, but it seems like Jamal Murray's kind of a barometer. He's playing really well. Their team seems to really benefit and play their best basketball.
Those two things are connected because they're involved in the action so much together. They're overloaded on two-man actions with Murray and Jokic, and it activates both of them. I mean, if Murray's coming off, he's a threat, which gives Jokic longer closeouts back to him. If you're worried about Jokic, Murray gets more separation on those screens. So a simple two-man action that's a very simple play can become very complicated when the players have the type of gravity and chemistry. I mean, they've been doing that for so long. They kind of finish each other's sentences out there. So they're a huge challenge. But yeah, it's both of them. They're both very critical.
Mark, I know Russ in recent years, his reputation has sort of shifted as he's kind of become like a reserve. It felt like he helped them a lot last round, but then again, there's maybe some volatility in his role and production and the output. Like, how do you sort of handle a guy that can maybe swing a series, but it's unpredictable in his output like that?
I mean, he's shot it really well in that series. I mean, he really made them pay for the way they guarded him. He was ready to fire those shots, and he shot it really efficiently. So credit to him for that. And then, he always brings great energy and competitiveness to the game. So especially when he's off the bench, you have to account for the fact that he's going to come in the game ready to rock, and the pace of the game is going to go up, and he's going to be trying to make something happen right off the bat. And you can't be caught flat-footed in that way. I thought the second time we played him in Denver, he changed that game, against us. He went in the game and he really elevated their energy, and really we had a lead early in that one. And I thought he was one of the reasons why they came back in that game.
Is the emotion of him playing here, of all places in a playoff series, like something you have to prepare for, Troll?
He's come back many times over the years, so we've played against him a lot. We played against him for 5 seasons, so that's nothing new. But we understand the relationship he has to the organization, the fan base, everybody here, and the relationship that they have with him. He's an unbelievable philanthropist in the community. This is a place that I think he really resonates with, and a place that resonates with him. And that's always been the case when he's here. But, when the ball goes up in the air, he'll be ready to compete for Denver. We'll be ready to compete for Oklahoma City.
It seems like the past half dozen years or so, there's been a bit of a trend. Lou Dort, Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, opportunities that these guys have gotten. AJ Mitchell this year. Just, do you see a through line between some of these guys, that didn't get drafted highly or were undrafted, getting their opportunities, and that maybe like being inspirational to the next layer of guys that come in?
Yeah, I think, certainly you get a guy like Mitchell, 2nd round pick, 2A initially. There's a lot of guys on the roster he can point to that started in that position or further back than that, and had to work their way up. And I think it's powerful, especially here, for a player like that to be able to look around and know that not only can that happen for you generally, but that can happen for you here. That we're looking for opportunities to find players anywhere we can find them, in the modern NBA. That's critical. And so we're looking at guys not with a skepticism, but with an optimism of what they can become. And hopefully that puts some wind in their sails as they try to set out to do that, and they see the other guys that have done it.
Mark, assuming this series goes 5, 6, 7 games, it's very likely that MVP will be announced during the series, and that one guy is probably hoisting the trophy while the other guy looks on. Is that something you have to prepare for?
No, those guys are pros, and really, that neither one of them. I know Shea a lot better than I know Jokic, but I think I know enough about him to know neither one of them are going to get distracted by that. Both of them are going to be fully invested in the series, and so that's it's a supplement to the series, but it's not part of the series at all.